Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Caitlin Burke. The first Republican presidential debate of 2016 got the new year off to a lively start. Plenty of squabbling filled the night. CBN's David Brody is in Charleston, South Carolina, with a recap.
Coming into this debate, frontrunner Donald Trump has been suggesting that Ted Cruz, his nearest rival, may be ineligible to be president because he was born in Canada, even though his mother is American. And that led to a vigorous exchange.
Donald is dismayed that his poll numbers are falling in Iowa. But the facts and the law here are really quite clear. Under longstanding U.S. law, the child of a U.S. citizen born abroad is a natural-born citizen.
I'm not bringing a suit, I promise. But the Democrats are going to bring a lawsuit. And you have to have certainty.
The two top polling candidates weren't finished. Cruz was asked to explain his recent criticism that Trump has New York values.
The values in New York City are socially liberal or pro-abortion or pro-gay marriage, focused around money and the media.
New York is a great place. It's got great people. It's got loving people, wonderful people. When the World Trade Center came down, I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York.
Then the other players took their turns at the frontrunners. Marco Rubio attacked Cruz's immigration record.
You used to say you supported doubling the number of green cards. Now you say that you're against it. You used to support a 500% increase in the number of guest workers. Now you say that you're against it. You used to support legalizing people that were here illegally. Now you say you're against it.
At least half of the things Marco said are flat out false. Marco supports legalization and citizenship for 12 million illegals. I opposed and oppose legalization and citizenship.
Meanwhile, Jeb Bush took Trump to task for continuing to call for a temporary ban on Muslims into the country.
Donald, I hope you reconsider this, because this policy is a policy that makes it impossible to build the coalition necessary to take out ISIS.
I want security for this country, okay?
The other storyline was the battle brewing between Chris Christie and Marco Rubio. Both are trying to be the alternative to Trump and Cruz, and they're running attack ads against each other.
Governor Christie has endorsed many of the ideas that Barack Obama supports, whether it's Common Core or gun control or the appointment of Sonia Sotomayor or the donation he made to Planned Parenthood.
First of all, I didn't support Sonia Sotomayor. Secondly, I never wrote a check to Planned Parenthood.
The rest of the debate addressed issues of tax reform, entitlements, the right to bear arms, and the divisiveness that's gripped America.
Where did that spirit come from in America? It did not come from our Judeo-Christian roots, I can tell you that.
The debate also contained bold talk against President Obama.
This guy is a petulant child. That's what he is.
And Hillary Clinton didn't escape as well.
Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being Commander-in-Chief of the United States. Someone who cannot handle intelligence information appropriately cannot be Commander-in-Chief.
This debate in Charleston may not change the Republican race in any distinct way. That's because in just less than 2 weeks, all these candidates are going to be back on the stage in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, to be exact, just a few days before the all-important February 1st Iowa caucus. David Brody, CBN News, in Charleston, South Carolina.
Planned Parenthood is suing over the undercover videos produced by the Center for Medical Progress. The suit claims extensive criminal misconduct. Planned Parenthood's executive vice president said, quote, "This lawsuit exposes the elaborate illegal conspiracy designed to block women's access to safe and legal abortion." The Center for Medical Progress started releasing videos in July, alleging that Planned Parenthood sold fetal tissue to researchers for a profit. The nation's largest abortion provider continues to deny any wrongdoing. David Deliadin, a founder of the Center for Medical Progress who oversaw the video operation, said he looked forward to confronting Planned Parenthood officials in court. "My response is game on," he said in an email. "I look forward to deposing all the CEOs, medical directors, and their co-conspirators who participated in Planned Parenthood's illegal baby body parts racket." 3 men with possible links to Thursday's brazen terror attacks in the heart of Jakarta have been arrested. And ISIS is claiming responsibility for that attack as police search for more jihadis.
Violence erupted at midday with at least 6 explosions going off in the area. 5 men armed with bombs, guns, and suicide belts attacked a Starbucks cafe and traffic police in the city's main shopping district.
We heard a third explosion. We've heard a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. And there's gunfire.
Attackers got into a gunfight with police, and people working in the area barricaded themselves in their offices. 2 people were killed, a Canadian citizen and an Indonesian. All of the attackers were killed either by their suicide vests or by police. Police found a flag of the Islamic State group in one attacker's home and say the attackers imitated the terror actions in Paris, which killed 130 people. Indonesian authorities say the attack shows the emerging threat from ISIS in their country. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Today, Jakarta is quiet but still on high alert as police hunt down suspects. As Gary Lane tells us, the country's Christian community quickly stepped in to help calm the people in the aftermath of the terror attack.
The Indonesia president promised to find the perpetrators and crack down on terrorist networks operating inside the world's most populous Muslim nation. He urged the people to remain calm, to not be afraid or defeated by the terrorist acts. Speaking by phone, CBN Indonesia director Mark McClendon described the attacks as amateurish.
The attacks weren't really well-planned, well-designed attacks. They seemed to be almost like amateur and not very effective. And so crime scenes were cleaned up very fast, and the police were very quick to catch most of the people involved.
And McClendon told CBN News the country's growing Christian community stepped in immediately after the attacks to help their fellow citizens.
Within minutes, the social media was jammed with people praying, calls for prayer, prophetic prayers, proclamations of peace, justice, prosperity, godliness, kingdom of God, things like that just filled the airwaves. There was very little negativism.
The Sufan Group has reported as many as 700 Indonesians may have traveled to Syria and Iraq to join ISIS. Scores may have already returned home to Indonesia, and many of the country's people have a favorable view of the Islamic State.
The real issue here is that about 6% of Indonesian Muslims, according to a recent survey, said that they agree with the actions taken by ISIS in the Middle East.
That would mean as many as 15 million Indonesians support the actions of ISIS. But McClendon says the Indonesian police and military are well networked and have prevented many similar planned attacks.
There's a lot to be said about their ability to track these guys and to anticipate acts of terror. Overall, people have a lot of confidence in the Indonesian police and military to handle this stuff.
And McClendon says God will use this latest tragedy to bring people hope.
There just seems to be such an attitude of optimistic, faith in Christ and God's ability to watch over this country. Bad news, in a sense, is always good news for the kingdom of God because it causes people to question what they really believe, and it causes people to look around for answers, and Jesus is always there.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
A New York court has upheld the state's decision to fine 2 farmers for refusing to host a lesbian wedding on their property. The state human rights agency has fined Cynthia and Robert Gifford $13,000 and ordered re-education classes. The Giffords say that participating in the lesbian wedding would have conflicted with their conscience. On Thursday, the appellate division of the New York Supreme Court upheld the state's fine and order. The Giffords are considering an appeal. The U.S. Episcopal Church is now being suspended from any leadership position within the Anglican community because of American churches' acceptance of gay marriage. The announcement comes after a week-long meeting to reconcile conflicting views over same-sex marriage in the church. The press office for the Anglican leaders in Canterbury say that there are, quote, deep differences over the understanding of marriage, and the approval of gay marriage is a fundamental departure from the faith and teaching of the majority of Anglicans. Episcopalians are temporarily restricted from any policy-setting positions for 3 years. Coming up, choked with pollution. The skies of Beijing look as dark as night in the middle of the day. Will the government finally respond to this terrible health crisis? While millions of Americans deal with snow and frigid temperatures today, half a world away in China, they're just hoping to have some clean air to breathe. People in Beijing are still facing a red alert because of extreme air pollution. Meng Fei Li has the story from the Chinese capital city.
Take a closer look. This may seem like early evening, but actually, it's the middle of the day in Beijing. Today, China's capital has a new name, the City of Masks. Because of the heavy smog, experts advise people to wear masks every day. At the start of the new year, Beijingers are not only concerned about the economic downturn, but also their city's air pollution crisis.
Nothing will deter us from building the future we want for our children.
At the Paris 2015 Global Climate Summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping strongly emphasized the harmful effects of pollution in China and the urgent need to come up with solutions. According to Chinese environmentalists, the pollution worsened in 2015 compared to 2014. The biggest concern is how the poor air quality may harm the elderly and people with respiratory conditions.
Because of the foggy weather, the local business and schools in Beijing have been given the permission by the Chinese government to be temporarily closed down. The employees are strongly encouraged to either work at home or just simply take the day off.
And that may hurt the local economy. How does the Chinese government plan to solve it this year? For now, they're taking steps to reduce carbon emissions by limiting the number of trucks on highways.
For the heavy trucks, we don't allow them to get on the highway unless they have special permission from the government.
Officials are also considering tighter regulations on factories emitting pollutants. China's new environment minister says solving the crisis is a top priority, and people are looking at how they can help.
A lot of people used to complain about air pollution, like me, but we have gradually shifted from complaining to paying attention to air pollution. We ask ourselves what we can do about it.
The Chinese people know this air pollution crisis didn't develop overnight. Now, they're looking to their government to come up with long-term solutions to bring them relief. Meng Fei Li for CBN News, Beijing.
Up next, Americans were under fire and the government failed to respond. Hear the story of the courageous men who defied orders to reach the victims of Benghazi. When terrorists attacked the American diplomatic compound in Benghazi in 2012, members of a security team for the CIA stepped up to defend hundreds of Americans. The former members of the military shared their courageous story in a book called 13 Hours. It's now a major motion picture that hits theaters today. Ephraim Graham sat down with the cast and 3 of the 6 real-life heroes.
Libyan visa. Official.
Pull over for inspection.
Sorry, sir, I can't do that.
Pull over for inspection.
How willing are you to die for your country? I'm ready to go right here, right now.
13 Hours is an inside account of what unfolded within 13 unforgettable hours in Benghazi, Libya on September 11, 2012. The best-selling book and now movie is told from the perspective of 6 former elite military operators, all hired to secure a CIA annex just a mile away from the United States diplomatic compound.
Everybody, this is Jack Silva.
Jack.
We trained SEALs at Coronado, so he knows the drill.
Welcome to Club Med.
Actor John Krasinski plays Jack Silva, a former Navy SEAL who has actually remained anonymous.
The politicizing of the issue has actually overshadowed the real human story, the story, which is these 6 guys laid their lives on the line to save all these people that night. And I think that that is the true definition of heroism. And you realize that all the politics came after that moment. And so we were very lucky to have the opportunity to sort of not have to deal with any of the politics, because that night those politics didn't exist. It was just about what these guys did.
None of you have to go. We are the only help they have.
The men defied orders to stand down and rushed to defend those being attacked by Islamic militants at the American diplomatic compound. We're talking about 6 men. You play one of them. How would you describe that man?
Wow, do we have an hour? I think it's funny. I actually got to meet the real Jack Silva, which was the most vital part of the process for me. And the thing that I really took from it, not only did I admire him as a military man, but I saw who he was a very unassuming, incredibly generous, kind man who was a family man, a great husband, great father. And that, to me, added a whole new level of emotion for me going into the role because of what he leaves behind every time he puts himself in a situation like this.
Hey, we're coming in! We're on property!
On the roof! Don't leave! Former Marine turned contractor Mark Oz Geist lived through those unforgettable 13 hours that now play out on the big screen. Is there time for prayer and faith in a situation like this?
I mean, for me, it's my faith and my relationship with God's always there. That foundation is something that I was lucky to have that instilled in me from my parents from birth.
I'm telling you right now, there's no atheist in a foxhole. There is none. When those bullets are flying, that faith in God comes out.
Chris Tanto Peranto is a former Army Ranger.
We are overrun.
State's under attack. Let's go, man. State's under attack. Let's go. We gotta move.
If you do not get here soon, we are all gonna die.
We hear the calls, people calling for help.
That's hard.
That broke my heart
Breaking mine.
as an American. Did you feel abandoned?
After I got back, I got asked that question on a news show. Do you feel like you were left behind, like your U.S. government left you behind? And it hurt me because I said it, and this is what I said. I paused for 15 seconds. He goes, "Are you there?" I said, "Yeah." I said, I can't answer. I can't say no.
Peranto, Geist, and John Tig-Tegan are 3 of the secret soldiers of Benghazi. Would you do it all over again?
Of course. I loved the job. It was a lot of fun. I mean, some people say, well, you only did it for the money. Not really, because, yeah, the pay in the beginning was really good. The pay dropped quite a bit, and there's other contracts you can go do, like oil companies and stuff like that, but wouldn't enjoy risking my life for oil. So I stayed where I was, protecting people and, stopping the terrorists at their homeland and not letting them come here. I mean, plus being around the guys is just a lot of fun.
And now, the story of those secret soldiers.
Chief, are we expecting any friendlies?
Is no longer a secret. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Miami.
Glenn Bub Doherty and Tyrone Roan Woods were also members of that elite security team. Both men were former SEALs and killed by a mortar explosion late in the battle. You can see 13 Hours in theaters now. In our next block, we'll have a review of the film and let you know whether or not it's something the entire family will enjoy. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, the weekend is here, and you may be thinking about heading to the movies. So let's turn now to focus on the family's entertainment department called Plugged In Online for a review of 13 Hours. Take a look.
Benghazi is under attack. We need immediate assistance.
In the movie 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, we're told the story behind the brutal attack of an American consulate on September 11th, 2012. The compound was sorely underprotected, and when dozens of heavily armed militant jihadists stormed the gates, the situation quickly deteriorated for Ambassador Christopher Stevens and all the others who were stationed there.
If you don't send our support, Americans are going to die.
including the one talking to you right now.
In fact, the only real help those people could immediately hope for was from a small number of ex-soldiers who were hired as guards and drivers for a nearby group of CIA agents. But these seasoned ex-SEALs and Marines are essentially told to stand down.
You're not the first responders. You're the last resort. You will wait.
But these are men who know war, and they are fighters who know the price that defenseless people will pay.
None of you have to go. We are the only help they have.
These few brave men won't simply turn their backs. This heroic story is based on a real world and so far undetailed tragedy. And as such, it has grabbed a lot of national attention. The well-made movie gives an inside view of a few men who risked everything to try to help the helpless. But this is, without question, a very intense and very violent film. The bloodshed is extensive, and heavy use of foul language is pervasive. So, I'm giving 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, a mere 1 out of 5 for family friendliness. For an in-depth review of this film, or really anything else at your local box office, visit us at PluggedIn.com. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Bob Walszewski for Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
A short documentary filmed by David Darg of Operation Blessing has been nominated for an Oscar. The film is called Body Team 12. It was filmed in Liberia in 2014 during the height of the Ebola outbreak. Darg was directing Operation Blessing's efforts on the ground to set up the first chlorine production facility in that country's history. Chlorine was used to help fight the Ebola outbreak. The film chronicles a team of body collectors working with the Liberian Red Cross who remove dead bodies from homes and villages and take them to be burned to prevent the spread of the virus. Body Team 12 will be shown on HBO in early March. The film has helped raise $60,000 for Operation Blessing's Ebola Orphan Program. You can find out more about this story on CBNNews.com. That's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.